Welcome everybody to our regular City Commission meeting of January 12th. It's so nice to see all your faces here. Thank you for coming. We'll call our meeting to order. And if you will please rise and join us for an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor. Let us all take a moment to reflect together, each according to our own individual beliefs and intentions, and offer a moment of silence, first for Pat Kennedy, a former Dunedin Recreation Director for over 34 years who made a huge impact on our community, and also for the passing of a beloved father, husband, and educator, Ryan Vaught of Dunedin High School, who was a U.S. Marine veteran and served our country and taught special needs children in physical education. May the Dunedin community feel comfort in these times of loss and strength and hope to face each day. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank briefly Commissioners Gow and Mo Freeney for bringing those to my attention.
No, thank you. That was very nice.
All right, we have some presentations. We've got some presentations and some holiday parade winners. So I would like to invite Alicia and Dunedin Youth Guild forward. All of you, come on down. They'll tell us all about it.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission, and City Manager. My name is Alicia Castricone. I am a program coordinator for our Parks and Recreation Department. Thank you for allowing me to come and give the report of the 2022 Holiday Parade. On December 10th, the Parks and Recreation Department hosted the Holiday Parade, an old-fashioned Christmas event. This year, we had 113 units in the parade. Quite large. The parade was successful because of many people who gave their time, talents, and energy. I would like to thank our co-sponsor, Dunedin Youth Guild, for volunteering their time during the planning process, their hard work the day of, as well as sponsoring our winners. The Holiday Parade Committee co-chair, which is Stephanie Kinsinger, my right-hand woman. Our City of Dunedin staff, that includes the Parks and Recreation Department, Public Services, that includes facility and traffic, our Sheriff's Department, our Fire Department, Engineering Department, Communications Department, and our Special Events crew, Jory and Danielle Teal, Jory Peterson, Danielle Teal. I would also like to thank all the volunteer drivers with their cars and for our VIP. That would be Jay Archer and his Antique Car Club, the Stampede Car Club, and the Jolly Trolley. The Dunedin Youth Guild has participated in the Holiday Parade for many years. I would now like to turn the presentation over to the Youth Guild President, Amanda Bowman, along with Susan Wilson and Kay Hartnett, and together we will share with you who the most creative, best children, and overall winners are. So I'm going to actually start it off because I do have the first one, so I'm not turning it over just yet. So I have the most creative, and the winner was the Mermaid Schmermaid crew. So come on up.
Thank you, ladies.
We love doing the parade. We can't hardly wait for the Mardi Gras.
All right. Way to go. Congratulations, and thank you.
Thank you so much. On behalf of the Youth Guild, we are so excited to be able to partner with the city because you guys are such a great force. You really are. You're amazing, and everything you do for the city just to make it so much better. And I have to tell you, the parade was really, really long, but so much fun because everybody wants to come to our parade and be part of it. And I think that says a lot about our city and about the people who work here as well. So I'm very excited. So first off, I would like to go ahead and do the best children's part of the parade. And we were very lucky for this because tonight it's fusion dance.
Come on up, guys.
We'll make sure they get this.
Okay.
Thank you. So our next one, because, we're very excited about this one too, because, it's right at home and we're pretty excited for the best overall is the Dunedin Junior Falcons.
Yay! That's awesome. That is way awesome. Yay!
Wonderful. Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah. I just want to say thank you so much. I'm really excited, and that was amazing. The parade was
Thank you. You guys did great. Congratulations.
So if you did miss the parade, by the way, everyone, you can also catch it on our city's Facebook and YouTube pages. So thank you so much again. And we look forward to the next parade, Mardi Gras, and continuing on because all of our parades are fun.
Well, thank you to the Youth Guild for continuing to support the city of Dunedin and its youth in their programs. We appreciate that so much. It means the world to us. And I mean, I know Jeff and I grew up knowing Youth Guild members, so pretty cool.
Can I share one comment?
Yeah, go right ahead.
No, if I could, I just wanted to share before you say. I just have to tell you this. So there's a probably 20-something-year-old from Tampa Bay Regional Planning. He's on the staff. And so I went to a meeting after our parade, and he says he has a girlfriend that loves to go to every parade in Pinellas County. So they had been to our parade. And he went on, he says, you guys have the best parade, and there's no gaps. Because he said that drives people crazy. So I just wanted to tell you guys, because that was a huge compliment, coming from, 20-something.
Yeah. Well, and our Dunedin team did a great job. It was a great parade. Everybody was so happy. The benefit we get is we get to be in the parade, but we're towards the beginning, so we get to get off and watch it all.
Yeah.
And see all the floats and the kids and all the different groups and businesses that sponsor. And it was very good with very few long gaps. It was Commissioner Walker's first year. I'm sure you loved it.
It was amazing. And when we had finished the parade and we were walking back down towards downtown, there was this one individual, and he just said, Dunedin positively puts on the very best holiday parade in the world. So that's a benchmark.
We'll take it.
That's great.
I just want to share with you, Pat Kennedy will be missed, but she was also a Youth Guild member as well. So.
Very cool. And I also want to say something about our winners. I love all the winners, but especially the Junior Falcons. Our family was a part of the Junior Falcons, I think, for 7, maybe 8 years. I can't remember how long, but my son started there when he was 5 and went on until he went into high school, and then played on the regular Falcons. So we love that program, and we love what you guys do, and it takes a lot of hard work from all those parents. So my son participated in the parade with Falcons too, so it was really cool to see that. So thank you guys for everything you guys do too.
Awesome.
All right, good job, everybody. Okay, we have one other presentation, and that is, and you guys don't have to stick around for this. You guys can, you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
We'll just give you the out. Nobody ever knows if they can get up and leave. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to our next presentation, which is Dunedin Celebrates Diversity 2023 proclamation. I'll turn that over to Commissioner Franny.
Yes, thank you, and I think Emily, is Emily coming up? Yeah, Emily. I knew I saw you come in, but.
Shiloh Baptist.
Welcome.
Yes, Shiloh Baptist Church. So, hi. Okay, so Dunedin Celebrates Diversity 2023, a community united, many paths, one destination. Whereas we live in a world comprised of individuals from many different cultures and backgrounds and believe that all people are equal and each person unique and valuable. And whereas we respect, accept, appreciate, celebrate, and embrace diversity. And whereas we share an individual and collective moral and ethical responsibility to create a community free from discrimination and prejudice. And whereas our community will celebrate Diversity 2023 with a kickoff event to commemorate the birthday and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on Saturday, January 14th, 2023, followed by many ethnic and cultural events conducted in Dunedin throughout the year in alignment with Unite Dunedin, an initiative to unite neighbors in thoughtfulness and empathy. And whereas this initiative strives to cultivate and sustain an inclusive and diversified community that values social justice, unity, shared responsibility, mutual respect, and environmental justice by putting into action positive changes in the City of Dunedin workforce and our community to achieve equality of outcomes in collaboration between employees and residents to accept and create a harmonious environment. Now, therefore, I, Maureen Mo Franey, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Mayor of the City of Dunedin and on behalf of the entire City Commission, do hereby proclaim Dunedin Celebrates Diversity 2023. A year-long celebration to acknowledge that we are a community united with many paths but one destination, and we encourage all residents to participate in our year-long ethnic events, starting with the celebration of the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Mardi Gras, St. Patrick's Day, the Highland Games, Cinco de Mayo, Dunedin Pride Week, Our Lady of Lourdes Fall Festival, Dia de los Muertos. I don't think that one's been in there before. I got to think about that one. The Celtic Festival, Piper on the Pier, and the United Face Walk of Peace.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Coming up this Saturday, January 14th, the Dunedin Parks and Recreation Department, in partnership with the Library and Shiloh Baptist Church, will host a kickoff event of Dunedin's 2023 Celebration of Diversity. The Martin Luther King Jr. Unity Breakfast in March will be held at the MLK Center, with breakfast beginning at 8:30 a.m. and will include keynote speaker Jordi Zapata, as well as winning essay readings on the subject, "But I Know Somehow That Only When It Is Dark Enough Can You See the Stars." After we've enjoyed breakfast, we will march to Pioneer Park, where we will enjoy entertainment from the Shiloh Baptist Church. This event is free, and all are welcome to attend. I hope to see a spectacular turnout as we honor and celebrate the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I considered it an honor to work at the center that has his namesake, and I hope that we continue to unite and create a culture of acceptance and inclusion. I'd also like to recognize the work of Reverend Clem Bell, who could not be here tonight, but is so instrumental in making the event so successful. It is my pleasure tonight to accept the proclamation with Yvonne Borders with the Shiloh Baptist Church. Thank you.
Mayor and Commissioners, I just want to say thank you on behalf of Shiloh Baptist Church again, Reverend Clem Bell. This has been going on for several years now, and we really enjoy the festivities and the breakfast that's going to be done. It is a great pleasure to be here. I grew up in Dunedin. I was born in Dunedin. I worked at Meese. So I went to Dunedin High School, graduated from there. So it is a pleasure to come home and be a part of this. So we just want to thank you again for allowing this to continue on. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We look forward to Saturday. Okay, so what we're going to fit into our agenda here is a Sterling Park update. Jennifer?
We are. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the commission. We have members of the public here. I assume you're here to speak in regards to Sterling Park. And I just wanted to kind of frame this input session and this update. We're seeing a lot of emails. We're seeing a lot of comments within the community on Sterling Park, on the original community input session and those types of things. And so I want to talk a little bit about how we got to where we are right now. And Vince actually did open the community meeting with these comments, and he's trying to recall what those points were. He didn't bring it with him, so if he misses something, I'm going to help him, and he's going to help me. And then what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about where we're going to go moving forward. But I do think that we need to take a step back. We need a little bit of a reset here. We have a beautiful open space, beautiful park surrounded by a beautiful neighborhood, and I think that working together, we're going to find the elements within this park that is going to satisfy at least the common public interest. And so that's really what we're trying to do here moving forward. First of all, I want to say that originally, and this might notch it down a little bit for everybody sitting here, originally we had mentioned that we would bring this back to the City Commission in February, probably the second series of meetings in February. We're not going to do that until we have all of the information compiled, until we have published all of that information, and you are given the comments on that information as well. So I think everybody needs to calm down a little bit. We're all, we've got an amazing opportunity, before us, and I think we need to work together on that opportunity. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Vince to talk, like I said, a little bit about how we got to where we are right now, and I'm going to talk about where we're going to go moving forward. So, Vince?
Thank you, Jennifer. Vince Gizzi, Parks and Recreation Director. And I didn't bring my notes with me from the meeting, so I'm going to recall this from memory. So on Wednesday, January 4th, we did a community involvement meeting at the Hale Center, and we did send postcards. I know that was something in question as well. And we looked at about a 1,500-foot radius from the park. We wanted to make sure that anyone on Palm Boulevard, the streets between Palm and Michigan, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, that they were all covered. We felt that was the most affected area by whatever happens, whatever was going to be the amenities that would be in the park. So we wanted to make sure that all those neighbors had a postcard. We also advertised it heavily on our website. There was even a news story on Bay News 9 about the community involvement. And we had over 220 people attend, which is a very big public meeting for a park. So back in 2020, when the park was going to become available, we had several options at that time for the commission to consider. One, we could continue with the existing contract or private management company that was running the golf course. City could have taken the golf course on ourselves. We could have turned it into a public park. We offered the Dunedin Golf Club at that time an opportunity to see if they had some interest in running that portion and have it under one brand, one name. And the recommendation from staff was to turn it into a public park. So and keep the driving range, make some great improvements to the driving range, which we did, and it's really showing with the amount of attendance and revenue that it's bringing in. We also had the north piece, which we talked about. All these were different slides that we talked about throughout the evening, which is about 2 acres of land off the trail. We have right now put a couple benches there. We put some signage. There could be some amenities like some exercise equipment like we have at Weaver Park. So, but there's nothing there at this point now except some benches. So this was all open for discussion. The main portion was off of Palm Boulevard. It was about 5.5 acres of land off of Palm Boulevard. There's the 3 ponds there. So we looked at the site. We looked at it very, very closely, and I explained through a planning process, we look at several things. Through our strategic planning, we look at several things, such as what are the deficiencies in the department? What are our biggest needs? What are the most popular activities? Do we have a sizable budget to cover the costs of any type of development that, again, we could do anything we want, and money was going to factor in. And that community input was important, and any comments at the meeting were important, and we documented the comments, which will all be part of our after-action review, which Jennifer and I and some of our staff have a meeting on next Friday, to go through the results of a survey that we did, the comments that we received. We take the location into effect. We take the neighborhood impact into effect. And the two biggest deficiencies, this has been going on for almost 2 years. People have been coming to these meetings. I've gotten many, many emails, phone calls, visits from people that play pickleball. It was just absolutely the number one deficiency that we have. We don't have our own dedicated areas. Now, we do have time at the community center. We can set up 3 courts, but it's just a couple days a week. We have turned 3 of our tennis courts into dual use, which we have 2 pickleball courts on 3 tennis courts. So we have 6 pickleball courts, but you have to bring your own nets. So they're not dedicated courts, and that's what really the community's been asking for. Then when the Blue Jay deal with the player development complex, we had to find another location for our dog park, and that was another challenge for us. And fortunately, we were able to work out a public-private partnership with Achieva Credit Union, and we expanded the park that they offered to their members and to the community, and that's worked out well for us, but it's not on dedicated land. It's on Achieva Credit Union's property. We have a 5-year agreement. We have about 1.5 years left on that agreement, and I explained that right now it's not in any jeopardy of going away, but it could at some time if Achieva wanted to do something further with their property. It could. So we opened it up for public comment. We did make a recommendation. We did make a proposal or suggestion that the 2 biggest deficiencies was the lack of a dog park, dedicated pickleball courts, and we did have enough space in this location, and those were the needs we felt at that time. But we also did the survey, and we also wanted to hear from the community. And I stood up there for 2.5 hours listening to comments, and we didn't do that just to go through any motions, taking every comment that was said seriously.
So Mayor, thank you very much, Vince. And I want to be very clear that the staff has not made a formal recommendation to the City Commission, and the City Commission has not approved any of those elements as yet on Sterling Park or any of the other uses at this point. There were some comments, and I've read a lot of emails in terms of, have you done a traffic study? Have you done a stormwater runoff study? No, we haven't, because we don't know what elements are going to be in the park. So you don't do those until you know exactly what's going to go in to the park. And so what we're going to do moving forward now is, as Vince had said, we documented all of those comments. I also heard, and I try not to respond to social media because there are so many different squirrels in social media, but I did hear, well, they haven't been posted yet, so we haven't had a chance to turn that around yet. There were a lot of comments. It was 2.5 hours. So and we want to make sure we get everything on there and memorialize everything and submit it to all of you. The results of the survey also will be documented and provided to the City Commission and the public, and all of those comments on the survey, I've heard that question as well, will be provided to the City Commission and the public at large as well. And so the plan is, once we've compiled all of that information, and as I said, it is public record, and we will use all the emails that we got at that meeting, the community meeting, and send all of that information out to all those emails. So if you didn't put your email down, you're not going to be able to get that, but we will publish it on our website as well for people to avail themselves of. At that point, when we have all that information, then we will schedule this for a City Commission workshop so that the 5 of you can talk without having to make a decision, and then you can give staff consensus direction. That consensus direction may be any one of those elements, or it may be give us more time, give us more information, and so on and so forth. I think the emphasis is that we are in the community input portion of a process to develop a park. Develop may be passive, develop may be elements, it may be whatever it is. And last thing I want to say, I don't want to take up too much time, is that, believe it or not, in developing a park, it is never without controversy, and no matter what you put into the park. Even the Gladys Douglas, you're going to hear the Gladys Douglas today, there was some comment at LPA, the local planning agency, about what's going into that park, that passive area. So that said, I respect all those comments and the public that came out and the public that are here tonight, but we're just very early on in this process. Thank you, Mayor.
So Jennifer, just really quick, some of the comments and emails that we've gotten is like, why did you ask for input when you already had options to put out there? Because it started in 2020, right? And because COVID hit, so we couldn't have a big meeting, right?
Correct.
And then also because the Gladys Douglas property came around as well. And when that first sort of reared its head, we didn't know if amenities could go there or not. So we wanted to kind of wait and see what was going to happen. That park, we can only do certain things now because of the state money that was provided.
Correct.
So with all of that other input that we have been getting, plus the Park and Rec strategic plan, that's why you guys decided to throw that up to show that this is what the overall community has been asking for, not
Correct.
necessarily Fairway Estates and St. Andrews Links, but the community overall.
That is correct, and actually the conversation that staff had was that it would be disingenuous not to say that these are the elements that we need within the park, and that this area, this park, this former Par 3 course has the space for these elements. And so, so we put it up as a draft, and Vince was very clear that it's a draft plan moving forward. But we did show those elements because that's what the general community is asking for the most.
So it wasn't a fait accompli.
No.
And I think a lot of people thought, oh, to create a master plan, it was supposed to be a blank slate. You take the input and then create it. Mm-hmm. And it probably would have been had COVID not hit and everything went and got put on hold.
Right.
Well, so it wasn't ideal the way it all ended up unfolding, but we had to keep working on it.
Correct. And as you recall, I think it was last summer, we had our pickleball players here for several commission meetings, and then our tennis players saying, this is what we need, we want this, to get it done quickly. So.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure that everybody understands kind of how all this came about. Mm-hmm. Could we have done it better? Maybe. We can always do things better. But there was a series of events that occurred that just made it happen this way. So, okay, well, anything else you guys want to add before I open it up for public comment?
I'm good. I could, but I don't have to right now. I'm more interested in listening.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have anything
Anybody
at this
over
point.
there? Okay. All right.
Thank you for asking.
But you're not going to have these meetings in February, and you're saying, do you know when you might then? It'll
Allow
be
us
sometime in
to-
the spring?
Yes, allow us to compile the information, and we'll give plenty of notice to the community when it's going to go before the city commission.
A simple question about that, if I may. I heard and have told a few people that it was going to be open until January 21st, and you just said that we were going to go through the information on Friday. So what is the date that this is open, if you don't mind, since I've given out?
The survey itself?
Survey,
The
yeah.
20th.
The 20th.
20th.
It'll close at the 20th.
Yes,
So the 20th is a
Friday.
Friday, okay.
Yeah.
We have a lot of information in place now to be able to start the conversations.
I just wanted to make sure I had the date.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct, yeah, thank you.
I changed my mind, sorry. No, I mean, the only comment I have is, and of course, we purposely waited for the pickleball decision till we had the input session. So again, we do have a group of other users, tennis and pickleball include, that, we promised them to be, deliberative, but, not 10 years from now. So I guess I'm just keeping that in the back head. We want to be fair to everybody. And if the pickleball courts don't go here, then we have another more expensive site, but we have, so again, we've got a couple, two decisions that are both important and got to keep them both in mind for this not to drag too far. I guess that's it.
Yeah, I think looking at all our options, all of our options, and as you said, there was a site that we were looking at originally.
Okay. Okay, I'll do the other update later.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll move to citizen input. Anybody wishing to come forward and speak to any item that is not already on the agenda? Give us your name and address for the record, and the clock's up here.
And just to be clear, Mayor, this would also include any, oh, actually, we don't have a consent agenda tonight, so never
No.
mind. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Hi, my name's Kevin Benjamin. I live at 200 Main Street, the Victoria Place condominiums right across from Edgewater Drive. So thank you for giving me a moment to speak. A couple of quick things real quick. First of all, I want to say thank you for the vote of confidence on the LPA committee alternative. I appreciate that and looking forward to contributing to the city on that. And secondly, I walked by the city hall and the parking lot on the way here, and I have to say it looks beautiful as the landscaping is going in. I do think that's going to be a source of pride for the city over time. So looking forward to seeing that completed.
Or we.
Yeah. But on a serious note, though, I want to talk about pedestrian safety, Alt 19 at Edgewater Park, as well as the crosswalks.
I knew I should have did the darn
Marina
update.
Plaza and Victoria Drive. And I am here on behalf of the association as the president of the association, as well as myself as a resident there. We have a front row seat to the bad behavior we see at that intersection and the dangers it represents to pedestrians. Unfortunately, which was realized last Saturday. We see a lot of excessive speeding through that turn. We feel that a lot of automobile traffic is not sensitive to the level of pedestrian traffic nor the visibility as they're turning that left corner at that crosswalk right there across to Edgewater Park. Coupled with that, there's a lot of high-speed traffic that blows right through the crosswalks going across to Edgewater Park at Marina Place and Victoria Drive, as well as just rolling right through that stop sign on a regular basis. The area, I believe, needs serious attention with regards to lighting, signage, as well as assistance from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office to do some monitoring and some sweeps to make sure that we are teaching people how to behave there before something happens again. I don't think it's a question of if it'll happen again. I think it'll be when, if serious actions are not taken to address safety at that area. So.
Okay, thank you,
All right.
David.
Thank you.
I do have an update on that intersection, but I'm not going to interrupt the public input to do it, so I'll do it after we do citizen input. Come on down, give us your name and address for the record, and then you have 3 minutes.
Alrighty. My name is Joni Clare. I live at 2028 Harvard Avenue, right by Sterling Park. My husband and I attended the meeting that Vince had the other night, and it was very enlightening, and I want to thank you all for just reiterating to everyone that you haven't made a decision and that they were just proposals, because we're certainly looking forward to a wonderful Sterling Park. So I support a stormwater education park shared with the Veterans Park at the Sterling Park location. I'm opposed to adding a dog park and opposed to adding pickleball courts. Either option would cause trees to be removed and the loss of osprey nesting and other wildlife. The dog park proposed area is also prone to flooding. Also, to level the land for the dog park or pickleball courts would likely require permits from Southwest Florida Water Management. I am in favor of keeping the park green. I would like to see the existing paths made smooth, safe, and ADA compliant for everyone's use, as well as adding benches and shade coverings. Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, let's not do that, okay?
Hi, good evening. David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live up the street on Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. So we're proposing to take the par 3 golf course and turning it into a pickleball court.
No, it's not a par 3 anymore.
Historically speaking, I would say that a lot of our golf courses are areas where we dispose our reclaimed water and our gray water. Now, why would we want to take green space where we can utilize disposal of our gray water and turn it into something other than a that's a priority function of society, is our water supply. And I think that being we have the water tower there, which I understand holds reclaimed water, and that Publix, the parking lot underneath Publix, has underground water vaults for the pumping of stormwater, that this open area as well should be used for the functions of water disposal. SwiftMud has been bringing light to the subject of saltwater intrusion. We're pulling so much groundwater out of the ground that saltwater's intruding. And we need areas, recharge areas, where we can aerobically allow our gray water to work its way back down into the aquifer. And this serves as a perfect area for that. I would, instead of paving it over for pickleball, I think we should use this as a area to create splash beds for our gray water, to allow that water to get back into our water system. It's vital and it's necessary, and that takes priority over pickleball. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Guys, we don't like clapping because we don't want to make one group feel better than another group, and it's not because we don't want to hear it, it's because it makes others feel uncomfortable. So please, come on down. Give us your name and address for the record.
For the record, Dwayne Wright, New York Avenue. And although I have opinion on Sterling, that's not why I'm here tonight. I had to print this out because, as you know, I sometimes get emotional. Term limits were enacted around 2019. Long-term members are now teaming out. I would like to acknowledge the 22 and a half years of dedication that Deborah Bushnell provided as a member of the BAA. BAA stands for the Board of Adjustment and Appeals, for those who do not understand the acronyms. That's a laudable billable hours she donated. That's meant to be a joke. The BAA's decision can only be based on the evidence presented, and it is a tremendous responsibility. Her knowledge of the law and the city provided an in-depth perspective that her fellow committee members was immeasurable. I am currently fortunate enough to continue to utilize my experiences as an architect on the Architectural Review Committee. Our committee is in the process of filling vacancies. We had a meeting Tuesday. I reviewed 8 different applications. There are an abundance of talented individuals in this city. Many of our citizens' committees have vacancies. I encourage everyone to volunteer. Check the city clerk's link to the city webpage. Your city needs you. And I am sure, as you do as well, I'm here to express my thanks to Deborah. The 12 years that I served with her, I was fortunate, and it was invaluable to me. And we will be seeing a lot more long-term members terming out, and I hope that they are recognized as they leave. So, Deborah, let's go have a glass of wine.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi,
My name is
welcome.
Virginia or Ginny Lamberton. I live at 2286 Gulfview Boulevard. I am here tonight as president of the St. Andrew Links Condo Association. And it seems like things have changed a little bit before we prepared for this meeting. That said, though, our owners are very concerned about the future of Sterling Park. That is where our homes are. Many people look out at the window and see the green space in the morning and evenings. We had prepared a little package that we'd like to give to the clerk to distribute to you all, so you can read up on some of our concerns, and then we'll also be actively participating in any future meetings or hearings or anything else. And I thank you very much if you would just take a little bit of time and read it. They're really not too long. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. We look
Thank
forward.
you.
Just one question. There's a meeting scheduled for next Wednesday for the Rec Committee to go over the future of Sterling Park. Is that still on?
The Rec Committee?
I mean, Parks and Recreation?
No.
On the agenda for the Parks and Recreation, it's just yes, an update on where we're at in the process.
So that would be similar to this evening?
It'll be just an update based on what happened at the meeting last Wednesday.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And the public is all welcome to attend. Okay, good.
Good evening.
Hi.
Mary Skin and I, 590 Walden Court. Thank you.
Thank you,
Welcome,
Mayor. City Commissioners and City Manager. Okay, there are 3 reasons why I came to speak to y'all this evening. In fact, I had a trial run on December the 15th. I failed to read the city website before coming, that the meeting was canceled. So it was just me and the custodian. And then my preacher walked by. But first, I'd like to congratulate the winners of the recent November election. And I want to make a brief comment on your leadership because I think serving the city and your capacity is really a noble cause. And also the importance of Dunedin's nonpartisan form of government. As I watched the swearing in of the newly elected city commissioners on November 21st, it was gratifying to see the camaraderie between all of you. Okay, we residents of Dunedin are indeed lucky to live in such a lovely city, but it hasn't happened by accident. And it's not just because it's a coastal town. In large part, it's because of its capable leadership, both present and past. As Deborah Kine said in the last City Commission meeting before retiring, we have contributed, and that's true of all of you. In 1901, we chose our first elected mayor, and back then, Dunedin numbered probably less than around 125 people, and life was so much simpler. The major problem to solve then was unpinned wild hogs trampling in neighbors' vegetable garden. Imagine. Now, 121 years later, our residents number over 36,000 and probably around 37,000 in the winter months. And we now have a nonpartisan commissioner-manager form of government that oversees more than 12 city departments. It is an understatement to say that it is now more complicated than ever to govern Dunedin effectively and fairly with its diverse population. So our website states we are committed to cultivating and sustaining an inclusive and diverse community with mutual respect for all our residents. And as a fourth generation Dunedinite, or person from Dunedin, whose family came here in the 1880s and whose husband of 50 years is of East Indian heritage, this mutual respect is very important. And one way in which we strive to do this is through an ordinance establishing a nonpartisan form of government. This boundary ensures that our candidates don't identify with a particular national party. In our recent election, we crossed that boundary, as evidence is in this door hanger that I found in front of my front door. My hope as we go forward is that the camaraderie witnessed between all of you in the swearing in ceremony continues and that all residents of Dunedin are served equally. Thank you again for your commitment, your very hard work to make Dunedin absolutely delightful.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else wish to come forward? Any?
Evening, Vinnie Luisi, Director of the Dunedin History Museum, Mayor, Commissioner, staff. 2 points I wanted to do and follow up on our inclusion and diversity programs. During the summer, Commissioner Kynes, I, and several of the city staff started a project for a sign memorial plaque on the African American community for their general meeting place in history. An agreement was made that a sign would go up, and I know possibly staff already purchased the sign, and we were waiting for the fall or around this time of the year to place that plaque, and I just wanted the city manager to see if she could get an update and follow up on that. I'm not sure which department put the sign in or if you need to follow up with Commissioner Kynes from the past, but I believe that sign is completed, and we were looking at putting it up for Black History Month.
Yeah, I would have to look into that. I'm not sure
Okay,
exactly.
just wanted to put it in a reminder so it doesn't sit anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll get back to you on that, Vinnie, if you don't mind, and the commissioners as well.
Okay.
I can find out tomorrow.
Thank you. And following up again on inclusion and activity, my apologies to the committee for not making the Martin Luther King parade and everything, but I want to spend a moment and pay homage to a long-time resident of Dunedin, a long time, over 30 years, city employee for the city of Dunedin, and many people will know her. Last week she passed away, was Pat Kennedy. Pat Kennedy worked for many, many years with Sterling, the Department of Recs, and was well-liked and loved. As a matter of fact, I owe my life 24 years ago to Pat Kennedy right here. But I just wanted to say I've known her and many others have known her, and we will miss her. And her memorial service is this Saturday also. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hi, welcome.
How are you?
Good.
So I just wanted to talk about the Sterling Park issue.
Sure, can you give us your name and address for the record?
Yes, no problem. Kim Begay, my address is 523 Hammock Drive, Palm Harbor, Florida, 34683. So I was wondering if anybody had consulted with an avian biologist about the impacts to the wading birds that forage at the 3 ponds at this park, because those ponds have been absolutely a regular area for them to forage and rest in for all the years that I've been going there, which have been a very long time. And we have several state-listed and federal-listed designated threatened and endangered species. Okay, so we have the little blue heron, a state-listed threatened species. We have the wood stork, a federal designated threatened species. We have the roseate spoonbill, a state-listed threatened species. We have several rails, like soar rails, common gallinules. We also have, hang on a second. So the little blue heron, the threats to the little blue heron, the survival of that species include disturbance at foraging and breeding sites, degradation of feeding habitat, reduced prey availability. I was just wondering why in the world was that vegetation removed from the edge of those ponds? That is a very important component of their feeding and foraging habitat. Did anybody consult with any kind of biologist before that was removed, and why was it removed? I just don't understand. So now that the vegetation has been removed from the 3 ponds, everybody who lives along the edge of the lake, the one to the east, is saying that the spoonbills are hardly ever there anymore, the little blue herons are hardly ever there. The incidence of the wading species has gone down greatly, and that's because that the reeds and the cattails and the other vegetation was removed. Why? You have to understand that when you're proposing a dog park there, all of these wading bird species see a dog as a coyote. They think, oh my gosh, it's a fox, it's a coyote. They're going to be terrified, and those birds are never going to be hanging around those ponds again. So you have to understand that. That's going to be a definite threat to the foraging habitat of these state and federal listed species. So somebody needs to look into this. This is not just a willy-nilly, oh yeah, let's just have a dog park here and completely not look into the state and federal listed threatened species. Okay, that needs to be taken into consideration. The other thing is there's an alternative. You can have the dog park at the Youth Guild Park. What's wrong with that park? The other thing is, okay.
Thank you, Kim.
I'll finish the rest of my comments in an email. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Come on down. Come on. Give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Dan Bregian, 2164 Gulfview Boulevard. I'm in St. Andrews Links. And I wanted to add support to the idea of a Veterans Park, Veterans Memorial Park. As I've looked around Dunedin, I only find 3 very small parks. There may be more, but I haven't found them, dedicated to veterans memorials. One is at the VFW Hall, which is just a small area that's actually dedicated to children of veterans. It's probably not 2,500 square feet. We have the Purple Heart Park downtown, which is nicely maintained. It's a pretty park, but again, it's probably only 2,000 square feet. And then we have right in front of the golf course of the park, Sterling Park, we have a small memorial on the boulevard between the 2 parts of Palm Boulevard. It's simply a flagpole with some stones around it and a couple of signs. So so we can develop Sterling Park into a tremendous Veterans Memorial Park. And we can have things like commissions who look into people in Dunedin who have been in the military. We can promote their stories. We can revive the history of Dunedin as applied to military history. We can obviously represent the 5 branches, the 5 services there, and create a history lesson for people coming up. So the 3 small parks that I've found, to me, don't do it. We can do better. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
A lot of what I was going to say, you guys already addressed. Thank you.
Hi, welcome. Give us your name and address for the record.
Roby Welpley, 2032 Yale Avenue. When I received the mail-out notice for the community input meeting held on January 4th, it implied this was an initial community input session to solicit ideas for creating a master plan for Sterling Park. I did investigation prior to the session and learned that instead the Parks Department had already developed their own master plan to present at the meeting. I walked the neighborhood asking for inputs and learned that dozens and dozens of residents living in Dunedin Isle did not receive the mail notification, even though they reside within a 2-minute or less walk to the park. 5 of them lived across the street on Palm Boulevard from where the pickleball courts are going to be, and dozens on the 9+ streets that end at Palm Boulevard. Many residents in this area do not check web pages or social media feeds where some notices occurred. However, there were signs posted at the tennis courts, but none outside Sterling Park. Still, there was a huge turnout, lots of suggestions for and against, and hey, what about this better idea? Voices were heard for over 2 hours, like you say. Unfortunately, those inputs heard and great suggestions of other uses are not documented on our website for all residents to read and consider. And the next day, the online survey to vote for the 2 listed needs recommended to be built in Sterling Park was posted. Again, the survey does not have the other options presented by the hundreds of attendees at the sessions. I walked the neighborhood again, educating those that what happened at those meetings, and to be sure to provide input, go to the next meetings, and vote, and use the other comments section to put in your ideas and other decisions that aren't there to be voted. I'm against adding hard surface courts on a stormwater location with fencing and light poles and racket noise impacting the bird and wildlife forever, and additionally negatively affecting quality of life for 90+ homes adjacent and across the street. Probably 1,200 citizens are within a 2 or 3 minute walk to the park. One of the most heard suggestions that I support is keeping the park green and to go even greener, consistent with the city's EPIC goals and Dunedin's Resilient Environmental Action Master Plan, our city's dream. With the known history of Dunedin Isle area and the overwhelming support from the surrounding neighborhoods and interested groups, going green with a theme will be a model for others. We can be award winners and prove that Dunedin cares. These 5 acres offer us a unique opportunity to do the right thing that will involve many local organizations and keep the citizens engaged and happy. Tonight, I was going to challenge the city manager and commission that we have not done this analysis as well as we could have, and perhaps not in the proper order. The majority of your citizens share the opinion that this was a premature recommendation that had already been decided upon. To that point, I ask that as a minimal action item, we delay any vote on the current recommendation until after the January 21st date that I had heard. I've been educated tonight. If that cannot happen, and request that the city manager be directed to instruct staff to do a restart of the entire process. If this cannot be mandated, then I ask that the mayor and commission just vote no on the current recommendation for building pickleball courts in a fenced dog park.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Welcome.
Hi there. Ron Fritz. I live at 623 Palm Boulevard, so I live right across the street from the golf course. He actually knocked on my door. I've been using the golf course and the park since we moved here 14 years ago. I don't need a stormwater study to tell me that's a retention pond. Anytime we have any kind of storms, those 2 ponds become one, and it becomes nothing but a slosh pit over there. The golf course, one of the reasons it didn't make it, there's a lot of the time of the season you couldn't use a golf course because it was so inundated with water. When we have downpours and stuff like that, I mean, it comes down Palm Boulevard. When we have a high tide, it just runs right over into that area. That's nothing but a retention pond. As far as putting pickleball and stuff over there, we go to Highlander Park. Anytime we want to get softball, we want to play tennis, whatever, Highlander Park is where the athletic stuff belongs. It has plenty of space, it's far enough from neighbors, it's not gonna bother anybody. You put pickleball courts over there, it's gonna change our area dramatically. We have it nice and quiet now. The driving range doesn't cause hardly any noise. You put a pickleball court over there, and it's a constant hard paddle against hard ball, and it's just gonna change our life dramatically over there. On top of the lights. Right now, the lights for the driving range face out. We have no impact at all. You put pickleball courts, especially if you don't put them all the way in the back, it's gonna be flooding our yard. So I'm not for it. I'm not for the dog park. If you are going to do it, I would hope you'd put it far enough back that it doesn't impact our neighborhood. But once again, I don't need a stormwater study to tell me that's not a floodplain. Because I'm telling you right now, anytime we get any kind of rains, that becomes a retention pond. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so Jennifer, we do have stormwater work planned already in our system, right?
Right. It's part of the
Because,
analysis.
not because of improvements to the park per se, but just
Right.
because,
Well, yeah, right, it'd be part of the analysis moving forward.
come on down. But I'm going to make you the last one because we just closed it. Give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Pat Krupa. I'm at 2100 Gulfview Boulevard, Dunedin. About the drainage, I have notes taken, and I mentioned it at the meeting. I have notes taken from you directing 3 years ago that stormwater drainage would be evaluated and fixed. And when I mentioned it at the meeting, I was told by, I think it was Laney, that the decision had been made not to do that, to wait until they decided what they were going to have there, and then think about the drainage. Now, just personally, I'm a nurse, but for 25 years I worked in the tech world, and ended up as the account executive for the federal government, did many, many projects, strategic and planning as well as actual. And the first rule for any project manager for anything is you look at your infrastructure first. So you don't put something on top of an infrastructure that isn't going to be able to maintain it. That drainage is very complex. And I said before, if it were simple, it would have been done by now. But I know you directed that to be started right after the meeting. Nothing has been done in 3 years. So what I'm proposing is get the infrastructure, I call it Swift Mud, and they fully support, looking at the environment itself first and the drainage and the wildlife and all of those things. And that before you can do anything there, Swift Mud, you have to get 2 permits from Swift Mud, and they come out and they have engineers and everybody else who evaluate the environmental impact and everything else, and then you get permits to do whatever they approve of. So
We understand that.
okay, good, but I wanted you to know that your directive never started.
Well, we have done a lot of analysis, but thank you for your comments.
Sure. Thank you.
But we have already done a lot of analysis. There's a lot of background work that goes into these projects, a lot of engineering studies. So it's not like nothing has been done, but yes, before triggers were pulled, it's what are we going to have there?
Right.
But
Exactly.
there is already funding planned for stormwater work to be
Correct.
done there.
Correct. So we did explain to Ms. Krupa at the meeting and everybody who was at the meeting that we would need to pull permits from Swift Mud. So that would be an analysis that we would be doing. And we also explained at the meeting that in January 2020, we were going to move forward with addressing the drainage issue there, but for the fact that we know what happened in March of 2020. And so that project was delayed
Everything got put on
entirely.
hold.
Right, exactly. And so we originally thought that we would be able to move forward relatively quickly, and we could not. And then at that point, we needed to stop and wait for the committee input and see what elements would be going in there. So that was explained at the meeting.
Okay.
Mayor, can I just?
Sure.
Well, my mind comment, I mean, obviously, if there's a quick analysis that tells us something 100% can't go there, just out of the question, it would be good to know, because why argue about it, right? Not argue, but debate it. But again, it may not be that simple, because I know you guys have been looking at it, so.
Right.
Okay. And I'll just go ahead and give you guys the update while we're chatting. I'll just give you the update on the intersection. I mean, we had our Forward Pinellas meeting yesterday, And,
Thanks, Vince.
and we spoke with Secretary Gwynn today from FDOT. So they are going to be submitting a flashing rapid beacon light to go with the pedestrian crossing. They're going to submit the design of whatever that is to our city staff before it gets installed. They're hoping within the next 4 to 5 weeks it'll be installed, so we should be seeing something, or, you know, our team should be seeing something soon. It will have a advance notice light, so for instance, like what they did on Skinner, when the light, when they had one flashing beacon, I don't know if it was 40 feet ahead of the regular one, to notify drivers that it's coming. And FDOT is in contact with Duke Energy to improve the lighting there. So it was talked to in great detail at the meeting yesterday, and then reiterated with Secretary Gwynn today on the telephone. In addition, while I'm here, I'll just tell you that the Curlew intersection improvements, which were slated for 23, are now pushed off to 25. And that's because they don't have easements for the construction equipment. And why they didn't start that sooner, I don't know. And we're going to have to pull together a meeting with the folks from Honeymoon and Pinellas County, because with that, those intersection improvements comes the automatic signage installation. Right now, we're just borrowing automatic signage from Pinellas County. So there, I can't tell you anything more than that. I certainly expressed my dismay over that one. And when they say 25, that means their budget year starts in July of 24 and goes to July of 25. So it's likely to be earlier than 25, but, and they have now plugged in the medians between Wilson and on to the Causeway or Michigan, wherever they're going to be. The P&E is going to be in 24, and installation, construction, not till 26. That's as soon as we can get it. So I'm just letting you know that. Those are those pedestrian crossing medians that everybody's wanting, with the reduction of speed and all of that. So just letting you guys know all of those things. Okay, so now we'll move on to action items. We have a voluntary annexation of Jerry Lake. We have the first reading of ordinance 22-22. Would you read that ordinance by title only?
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance 22-22, an ordinance of the City of Dunedin, Florida, annexing certain real property located at Indigo Drive and Weathersfield Drive, parcel number 2828150003400000 and 36281500000021002000, with designated meets and bounds and totaling approximately 78.8 acres, into the corporate limits of the city, providing for filing with the clerk of court and providing for an effective date. And this has been reading of ordinance 22-22 by title only.
Okay, can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, Commissioner Dow and Commissioner Walker. Did you want to do any swearing in now?
If, Joey, do you intend to do one presentation? I do. Okay, then I'll go ahead and swear Joey in so you can consider all the evidence on the zoning ordinance. Joey, do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll give this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you.
There might be people here from the audience.
Is there anyone from the audience that intends to speak on these items, particularly on the zoning? Okay, I see not shaking of heads, but if anyone comes up, Mayor, I'll swear them in at that time.
Okay. Joey.
Well, good evening. Joseph DePasqua on behalf of Community Development, and if you'll indulge me, I'd like to go through a brief presentation about the three ordinances you're considering this evening with regard to the Jerry Lake property. That is a city-owned piece of property. It includes a pretty large 2 parcels of land. So Of course, this is application ANLUP ZO-2207. In this instance, property owner, as I mentioned, is the city of Dunedin. Our city manager is technically the applicant. Representatives on staff is myself and Mr. Kinney from Community Development, and also Vince Gizzi from Parks and Recreation is here as well. The application, of course, is three parts. The first is to annex the city-owned property into the city limits, followed by placing a land use plan designation, and then, of course, a zoning district designation onto the property. Some of the property information. Neither one of these parcels actually have a street address. One is simply addressed to Indigo Drive. The other one is addressed to Wethersfield Drive. In total, the properties are 78.8 acres, but I will tell you that the surface area of the lake itself is a little over 32 acres. So the actual preservation area, the upland area, which may have some wetland on it, is about 46 acres. Of course, we're annexing all of it, including the surface water of the lake. The property as it sits now, being an unincorporated Pinellas County, shares two separate land uses on it. By and large, preservation is the land use the county has on it, but there is a small piece, and I'll show you in a later slide, that has residential estate on it. It may have been historically part of Wethersfield. They may have had a small piece of that, but our proposal, you'll see, is to place preservation across the entire upland area of the property. The Pinellas County's existing zoning on the property is residential agriculture, and then we're, of course, proposing MPL. The use of the property as it sits today is lake and preservation, and that's, of course, the future use of the property as well. Here we have an aerial. You can see the two parcels split north and south. The larger one is the north one is the Indigo Drive property. The south one is the Wethersfield Drive property. The one to the south obviously has the lake, the surface water on it. So this just gives you an orientation for those who may not have seen where this property is. It's just a little bit north of a little bit north of Virginia Avenue. Here's the maps I was just referring to. So the map on the left is the city's existing land use map. And of course, as you've seen with any annexation, the areas that are gray are within Pinellas County, so they're not colored on our map. But you can see the Gladys Douglas property currently is in the city limits. You'll see this with a light green color, and then the preservation in the dark green. That was part of that annexation, land use and zoning that you saw last year. And then you see the Dunedin Cemetery a little bit to the north of that. And then you see this parcel is contiguous to the Gladys Douglas to I guess that would be the southwest. Moving to the map on the right, this is the current Pinellas County land use. And you can see, again, by and large, as I mentioned earlier, the property's in preservation, save for that small piece on the west end of the property that's that residential estate we're proposing to take to preservation. So essentially, if you merge these two maps together with that parcel, that green would carry forward, and of course, the water would remain blue as you're seeing it there. Moving to the city's zoning map, we're of course recommending MPL. You can see you have MPL across the Gladys Douglas property as well as the cemetery. This would carry on through this parcel as well. So past and next action, I think it was discussed earlier during the last citizen input, but this was presented to the LPA on December 14th. There was a unanimous recommendation of approval for all three ordinances. However, during that meeting, there was some discussion. Our deputy city manager answered some questions from a couple members of the public with regard more about how this would tie into Gladys Douglas, its ultimate use. And again, that's the reason Vince is here if there are any follow-up questions. My understanding is Mr. Gizzi did reach out to one of those individuals about their questions and was able to answer those questions. Again, the recommendation was approval, and I think a lot of the question was about what was going to be the ultimate future use of the site. If these first readings are approved tonight, as all land use plan amendments have to be transmitted to Forward Pinellas, we did have a pre-application with Forward Pinellas. They're treating this as a map adjustment because essentially you're going from preservation, other than that one little piece of RE, to preservation on the county's land use map. That process is expected to take about 2 months. We'll be bringing back all three ordinances, as we always do, for second and final reading, adoption, and enactment. Having said that, staff recommendation is to approve all three ordinances, the first one being 22-22, voluntarily annexing the property into the city of Dunedin from unincorporated Pinellas County, followed by ordinance 22-23 to designate the property as preservation on the city's future land use map following annexation, and then finally, the ordinance 22-24 to designate the property as municipal public lands on the city's official zoning atlas following annexation. With that, Mayor, I'll be glad to answer any questions anyone may have.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the annexation. Do we have any questions on annexation? Nope. Okay, this is a public hearing. Anybody wishing to come forward and speak to the annexation of this property? Okay, give us your name and address for the record.
Roby, I still live at 2032 Yale. I just have a question. Could we try to carve out a little bit of rec area out of that residential area? And perhaps that could give us space to put more recreation down where the population is in Dunedin, instead of trying to force everything up to the Highlander Park and possibly Sterling Park.
Yeah, this is all wetlands. You can't build on it. Anybody else? Okay, yep, come on in.
My name is Ryan Merlo. I live at 2505 Indigo Drive. Can you break this down in layman's terms for us? Because I don't know what the heck this is even like saying, because some of this I kind of understood and some of it I can't, and I have to go home and sort of like report this back to my loved ones and see, because some of us think that, okay, like, because our property land and our property line goes past where we have a fence, and we're not really sure what the intentions are here. So that's kind of what.
Okay, so we purchased.
I just didn't understand a lot of what
I'm just going to tell you real quick.
Yeah.
We purchased this property from Swift Mud to go along with the Gladys Douglas Preserve, and all we're going to do with that, we're just bringing it into the city. Right now, it's owned by the county.
Okay.
Now it's owned by the city. And all we're going to do is, in the Gladys Douglas property, is put a canoe launch and a fishing pier.
Okay, so I got
So
it.
we're not building it. It's going to stay the way it is. I mean, there may
That was
be
the
other
big
docks there, but
Yeah, that was the big concern, that
No,
we weren't
it's being
sure if it was a preservation or whatever, because we already have raccoons coming into the,
It's a
into there,
preservation.
so,
I
good,
promise
awesome,
you.
very good, that's good to hear, thank you.
anyone else? Sure, come on up. Give us your name and address for the record.
Amy Shamos, 703 Weathersfield Drive. I'm curious about, there's a little piece of land there that is not shown, which is a small triangle, which I think you referred to as 877 Weathersfield. What are the plans for that, and how does that fit into the overall scheme?
So I think the property you're referring to, so when the city acquired, it's in the staffing as well. So there's a third parcel that was part of the city's purchase, 1.59 acres. It's already in the city limits, already has a land use and a zoning in the city, and it's actually part of the Weathersfield subdivisions. It's not part of this at all. It will remain as it is today. There's no change to that at all. And for those watching, it basically is a very small sliver, other than a small triangle on the north end of, that kind of wraps the west side of these two parcels. It's almost a strip of land that runs along there. It's very long, but in total it's 1.59 acres. It is not a part of this action at all. It's already in the city, already has a land use and zoning on it, and it's actually part of the Weathersfield subdivision.
Okay. Also, what kind of boating will be allowed on the lake?
Boating?
Yes.
All of that hasn't been determined yet.
Any motorboats considered?
Likely not.
Okay. There has been a pontoon boat that's been cruising around there. I don't know whether that's part of the survey or people
Could
were
be.
fishing. But,
Could be. We don't know yet.
Okay.
Mayor, if you want me to address, we do have an agreement with the Pinellas Community Foundation that help fund the park, that we would only have kayaks, canoes, non-motorized boating at all, with the exception of if there's a maintenance issue, if we have to treat the lake for some reason or other, there may be a motorized boat that has to do that operation.
But the park's not even open yet, so we don't have control over it all at this moment.
I understand. I was also told, or I think I read somewhere, that there was an observation tower that was going in there.
It's
In
a-
the park.
If you'd like me, I could address that too. On the west side of the park where the trails are, it's not going to be a tower, it's a platform. It might be about a 5-foot high platform, so you can stand up over some of the conservation area and see it from a better height. It's not going to be a tower by no means.
So the access will be from Indigo?
No.
No, this is going to be on the west side of the property, closer to County Road 1.
Oh, I see. Okay, so that would be just around where the cemetery is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, I didn't hear your name because you said it when you were walking.
Your name and address
Your
for
name.
the record?
Remy, R-E-M-Y, Charmoz, C-H-A-R-M-O-Z.
Thank you. I have 703 Weathers. Got that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, final comments. Commissioner Gao?
Yay.
Commissioner Walker?
Same.
Commissioner Franny?
Same.
Same.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Franny.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Torga.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Gao.
Aye.
Mayor Brzezowski.
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. We have ordinance 22-23, land use designation. Nikki, can you please read that ordinance by title only?
Ordinance 22-23, an ordinance of the City of Dunedin, Florida, amending the City of Dunedin Land Use Plan as adopted by Ordinance 20-01 on certain real property following annexation located at Indigo Drive and Weathersfield Drive, parcel number 2828150000340000 and 362815000002100200 with designated meets and bounds and totaling approximately 78.8 acres to the Preservation P land use designation and providing for an effective date. This has been reading of ordinance 22-23 on first reading by title only.
Okay, can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Gao and Commissioner Walker, thank you. We've already heard the presentation. Any questions regarding land use designation?
No.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak to the land use designation of this property, please feel free to do so. Seeing or hearing none, we'll come back to the commission. Any final comments?
Yay. Same.
Okay, yay. Everybody's yay.
Yay.
All right, roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Torga.
Yay.
Commissioner Franny.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Gao.
Aye.
Mayor Brzezowski.
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. And then finally, ordinance 22-24 for the zoning designation of this property. Nikki, can you please read that by title?
Ordinance, oh, sorry, Mayor, yes. Ordinance 22-24, an ordinance of the City of Dunedin, Florida, zoning certain real property following annexation located at Indigo Drive and Weathersfield Drive, parcel number 2828150000340000 and 362815000002100200 with designated meets and bounds and totaling approximately 78.8 acres to municipal public lands, MPL, and providing for an effective date. This has been reading of ordinance 22-24 on first reading by title only.
Okay, we've already had the presentation. Any questions on the zoning? Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak to the zoning of this same property, please feel free to do so. Seeing or hearing none, come back. Any final comments?
Did we do a motion on it?
Oh, no.
That's
I
because
I mean, we
forgot.
can assume.
it's because it's quasi judicial, so
Oh,
yes, you'll
so-
take a motion now.
I'll take a motion. You want to do it again?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to put Commissioner Gao and Commissioner Walker now. Okay, sorry. Any final comments?
Yeah, you can.
Yay.
Yeah, you're getting less enthusiastic with his.
Well, for anybody listening too, I think it's important to understand that we have to go through several public hearings to get all this stuff changed, to get it out of the county and into the city, but once it's under the city's designation, it can never be like sold off unless we put it on a referendum.
Correct.
Voter-approved referendum. So it protects the ownership of the property on that part. And then for the money that was raised for this area and this park and all of that, for the Gladys Douglas, there's only certain things the state will allow us to put there. So it's always going to be a passive park. That along with the property, it's 120 some acres, I think, total.
Yes.
So,
Well, fair to say too, the state didn't just make us, we imposed it on ourselves because it's worth the environmental value of what we're doing here.
so yeah, no recreation can go there. Okay, roll call vote?
Commissioner Franny.
Aye.
Sorry, Vice Mayor Twonga.
Yay.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Gao.
Aye.
Mayor Bajowski.
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. The second reading will occur once this goes through the county and the Forward Pinellas. All right, our second action item is voluntary annexation, land use and zoning for the 20,000 Greenbrier Boulevard. Ordinance 22-25.
I'm ready if you are.
I'm ready.
Ordinance 22-25, an ordinance of the City of Dunedin, Florida, annexing certain real property located at 20,000 Greenbrier Boulevard, parcel number 362815000024000400, with designated meets and bounds and totaling approximately 1.77 acres into the corporate limits of the city, providing for filing with the clerk of court and providing for an effective date. This has been reading of ordinance 2225 on first reading by title only.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Franny and Vice Mayor Vice Mayor Torngo. Okay. You don't need to keep swearing in, do you?
Well,
I
this
guess you
does have a
do.
zoning, so if you're going to do one presentation, Joey, can you confirm that you're still sworn?
Yes, I am.
There you go.
I feel sworn.
There you go.
Thank you. Again, Joseph DePasqua on behalf of the Community Development Department. Again, the applicant here is the city-owned property. The city manager is our, the owner is the city, the applicant is our city manager on behalf of the city, and we're the representative for this is our utilities department, more specifically our engineering division. We do have a representative here this evening, should there be any questions specifically about the use of the site. Again, the application or petition is to annex the property from unincorporated Pinellas County into the city, place again a land use plan amendment on the property, and then put a zoning district designation appropriate for the city. This property is addressed 20,000 Greenbrier Boulevard in Clearwater, Florida. I will say that I think shortly after this action is complete, you may have heard at the LPA discussion that the address is going to be changed to 2,000, which is more appropriate. I don't know how it became 20,000, but at some point there'll be an address change. Not sure the history of that, and it really has no bearing on us this evening, but I just wanted to share because somebody pointed out that it seemed a little odd that number was that high.
Going to cause havoc at the post office.
So, yeah, so this property is about 1.77 acres, more or less. As it sits in the county now, it does have two land uses on it, RL, residential low, and preservation. We're proposing to place those same land uses on it in the same shape configuration that it is in the county today on the city's land use plan map. The county zoning actually has two zonings across the property of course, they call it RPD, residential plan development, and residential agriculture. And as city-owned property, we're proposing to place MPL on the property. The use of the property, both today and in the future, will be municipal utilities. It's a wastewater facility for the city of Dunedin. The property you can see is located just a little north of Virginia Avenue again, actually just south of the Jerry Lake property. It's actually contiguous to the Jerry Lake property, and which is why we have the ability to annex it now. This property was acquired in September of 1980 by the city. Again, 1.77 acres used as a wastewater facility, storage of materials, and some other operational functions take place on the property. From a land use perspective, again, showing you the two land use, the existing city land use, again, being gray, you don't see it today, but you do see on the Pinellas County land use plan map, there's a small amount of preservation, but the lion's share of the property is RL. Again, we're going to continue that same configuration with our proposal, if it's approved. to carry for both the preservation and the residential low land use forward on the property on the city's land use plan map. And then, of course, the Jerry Lake property will become MPL, and we're proposing this one, property become MPL on our zoning district, zoning map as well, consistent with city-owned property as we've discussed. This application was also reviewed and considered by the local planning agency on December 14th of last month, and their recommendation was unanimous recommendation to approve all three ordinances. As is normally the case, if these first readings are approved this evening, we will again transmit the land use plan amendment to Forward Pinellas, acting as the countywide planning authority. This is a Tier 1 amendment because we're going basically from Pinellas County unincorporated land uses to the same categories in the city. So it's a relatively benign staff level review, does not have to go through the full public hearing, but we do go through that process that we're expecting to take a couple months. And then, as always, we'll bring all three ordinances back to the City Commission for second and final readings, probably in the next couple months. That being said, the staff recommendation is to approve all three ordinances. Ordinance 22-25 to voluntarily annex the property into the City of Dunedin, followed by Ordinance 22-26 to designate the property as residential low and preservation as shown on the exhibits on our future land use plan map following annexation, and Ordinance 22-27 to designate the property as MPL on the city's official zoning map following annexation. And with that, I'll be glad again to answer any questions, and Mr. Woodham from the Engineering Division is also available should you need to ask questions with regard to the operation of the site.
Any questions on annexation? This is a public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak to the annexation of this property? Okay, come back to the commission. Any final comments on annexation?
No. Consider it housekeeping.
Okay, roll call vote.
Commissioner Gao.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Tornga.
Aye.
Commissioner Franny.
Aye.
Mayor Bajowski.
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. Okay, ordinance 22-26, land use designation. Nikki, can you read that by title only?
Ordinance 22-26, an ordinance of the City of Dunedin, Florida, amending the City of Dunedin Land Use Plan as adopted by Ordinance 20-01 on certain real property following annexation located at 20,000 Greenbrier Boulevard, parcel number 362815000024000400, with designated meets and bounds and totaling approximately 1.77 acres to assign residential low, RL, and Preservation P land use designations, and providing for an effective date. This has been reading of Ordinance 22-26 on first reading by title only.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Vice Mayor Tornga and Commissioner Rob Walker. Thank you. Okay, we've already had the presentation. Any questions on land use? This is a public hearing. Anybody wishing to come forward and speak to the land use? Okay, seeing or hearing none, come back to the commission. Any final comments on the land use?
Nothing further.
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Franny.
Aye.
Commissioner Gao.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Tornga.
Aye.
Mayor Bajowski.
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. And then we have ordinance 22-27 for the zoning. Can you read that by title only?
Ordinance 22-27, an ordinance of the City of Dunedin, Florida, zoning certain real property following annexation located at 20,000 Greenbrier Boulevard, parcel number 362815000024000400, with designated meets and bounds and totaling approximately 1.77 acres to municipal public lands, MPL, and providing for an effective date. This has been reading of Ordinance 22-27 on first reading by title only.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Vice Mayor Tornga?
Second.
Commissioner Franny? All right, we've already had the presentation, so are there any questions on the zoning piece?
Nothing further.
This is a public hearing. Anybody wish to come forward and speak to the zoning? Okay, seeing or hearing none. Any final comments?
Further.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Gao.
Aye.
Commissioner Franny.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Tornga.
Aye.
Mayor Bajowski.
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously, and the second reading will be to be determined after going to the county. Thank you, Joey.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, item. All right, let me get through these postponements, and then I have to I have to use the restroom. I can't hold it anymore. First reading of ordinance 2301 has been for repealing the sales stuff and then adding new stuff. It's been requested to be postponed till.
Mayor, we can get this on January 26th.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will move it to January 26th.
So moved.
Okay, Vice Mayor Twanga, Commissioner Franny, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And then same thing with the ordinance 2302 regarding taxation. It's been requested to be postponed, same or later?
Mayor, I do not have a date for this one.
Okay, so do we need to just table this?
That's fine because there's no corresponding advertisement, but and there will be another agenda item that you'll consider, I mean, maybe at one of the.
26th.
On the 26th, that will need to come first.
This is
All
as
right,
it relates to equity.
so then
study.
let's do a motion to table so that we don't have to try to meet this by a certain date.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor Twanger, Commissioner Franny, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And if we could take just a really quick 5 minutes break.
Yeah, I'm for that.
I need a snack.
Next item on our agenda is a start item, which is we want to place establishing a charter review committee onto our agenda. We do start items because this was not approved at the last time we approved the agenda, so it just calls it out to everybody. So if everybody's okay with placing this on our agenda, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor Twarnga and Commissioner Franny, thank you. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And now we are to our establishing a charter review committee. So Nikki, would you please read Resolution 2302 by title only?
Yes, Mayor. Resolution 2302, a resolution of the City of Dunedin, Florida, establishing a charter review committee from the electors of the City of Dunedin in accordance with Section 6.02 of the City Charter, providing for duties, providing for the organization of the committee, providing the duration and time of submission of the committee's report, repealing all resolutions or portions thereof in conflict herewith, providing the city manager implementation authority, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And this has been reading of Resolution 2302 by title only.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor Twarnga and Commissioner Walker. Thank you. Okay, who's doing the presentation?
We'll make it very brief, Mayor. This is a continuation of the discussions we had in December, that with the result of the election in November, that the time period in between charter review committees was not extended. You now need to appoint a new committee. So this is step one for the clerk to begin her advertising process. That way you all can get applications and then make your selections. I heard you loud and clear, I believe in December. You asked for a 6-month period for the committee to complete its duties, because it is a much shorter document, and it was very recently in time that the charter has been reviewed. But recognizing the clerk wanted some time to advertise, for you all to be receive the applications and make the appointments, that's why the date of September 30th, 2023 is included. I didn't want anyone to think, did she think we said 9 months? We heard you loud and clear on 6 months, but we figured this gives you some time to make the appointments. And with that's all I have, unless the city manager has
In
anything.
addition, we appoint people, right?
Correct, and I'll
So-
be adding that to either the first or the second work session in February, but I wanted to be able to advertise and then for you to be able to talk about how you make these appointments, because it's something that not everybody has probably done before.
Talk about it tonight, or talk about it when we do it again? When do you want me to talk about it?
Probably tonight, so that they know
Okay.
what the process is, was my thought.
And how many members again are on there?
There are 7.
7, okay, so 5 of us can appoint a member and then 2 members at large.
Correct.
So you can appoint anybody you want to, as long as they're a Dunedin resident.
So the at-large will come from the advertised?
From the
once
pool,
again. From the
yeah.
pool.
To be honest with you, I don't remember, and this is very unusual for me not to remember, I don't remember that we had to wait for applications or had to force people to submit applications. I think you can, because your appointment is your appointment.
I agree with you. I don't remember.
Yeah, I didn't
I don't
remember
think we
like
have
that
to do
either.
that. So, well, but I know Rebecca asked me, and that's why I was being a little hesitant, because I didn't remember that. But, I mean, whoever you want, as long as they're a Dunedin resident, you can appoint who you want. The only thing,
We'll need to, after the fact, I'll need to get them in,
yeah, you'll get the information, but we will, at the meeting where we vote on the other 2 at large, we will put our appointment forward. And sometimes we end up with the same, somebody is not, I mean, I don't know. And if that's the case, we'll just pick another person out of the pool.
Or pick another person.
Right. I mean, so, when do you need us to give you to at least,
Well, you'll do that still at the work session. When you do the
Okay.
2 at-large appointments, that's when I recommend you making the nominations and taking the vote on your individual appointments, so that is
Gotcha.
done at the public meeting. And then if you'll just also make sure in those individuals that you intend to individually nominate, that they are at least familiar with the application that's being filled out by others, because that application does have certain information about the commitment to the committee. So they need to make sure that they're available 1 time a month to attend the meetings, that they commit to following the Sunshine Law, things like that. So even though they're not going to formally fill out those, that they understand what comes with the acceptance of that appointment would be a good idea. And so since that will all be able, this kicks off as the catalyst seamless for the clerk to be able to say, the committee's now been established, for her to put it on the website, put the requirements of the committee up there, and so that way you can all use it as a tool as well to familiarize your candidate with that, those requirements.
Sure. Anybody have any questions at this moment?
Well, I mean, could we get who was on the last one? The names of who was on the last charter review?
Yeah, can you just
Could
email
you just send
us?
it to us? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And which work session are we targeting for this?
I was hoping for the February 7th one, but I wanted to make sure that that was enough time for each of you.
It's fine for me, but
Fine for me.
So then, that's,
it's pretty much almost a month.
okay.
Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, I don't have anything else. Thank you, Mayor, for that.
And did you read that resolution?
Did read it by
Okay, and I
title.
got the motion. Okay, this is a public hearing, so anyone wishing to come forward and speak to the formation of the Charter Review Committee, please feel free to do so. Seeing and hearing none. Okay, any final comments from anybody?
No, thank you.
Pretty simple.
No.
We'll talk more when we get to the time of the February 7th. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Franny?
Aye.
Commissioner Gao?
Aye.
Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Torner?
Aye.
And Mayor Bajowski.
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. All right, and then we have the proposed agenda for January 26th, which will now include the sales?
Ordinance regarding sales.
Okay,
Chapter 62.
right. Anything else as far as changes?
No question.
Yep.
Can you just explain what the Equity Commission is?
Sure. And it's actually, I want to amend the agenda to talk about an Equity Study Commission. So the Equity Study Commission is required by Florida Statute 205-0535. And what that statute states is that prior to adopting a new classification system or revision ordinance to your business tax receipts, that you have to convene an Equity Study Commission. They're appointed by the City Commission. The commission doesn't say in that particular section how many are to be on there. We would assume at least 5, since it's approved by the City Commission, and they have to be business, let me find exactly what it says, business community members in the local jurisdiction. So member of the business community in Dunedin to populate the Equity Study Committee. They then look at the classifications that we are recommending in the rate structure and provide a recommendation to the City Commission.
And
That's
are
required
we
by statute.
appointing, or are you appointing? Who
You
appoints?
appoint-
Commission is.
Commission appoints.
And do people apply for this, or do we do it just like we just did for charter review? We just pick somebody?
I think if we should do what we just did, it'll take
Can
less
make it
time.
quicker.
Right.
You can determine that. So if you wish to do the appointments by, a direct nomination as you're suggesting, then you can do it that way. The discretion in making the appointments is entirely up to the city commission.
Well, you need
But we first need to establish the committee, so
All
that's
right.
the resolution that you'll hear that
Which we'll
night.
talk about
And
then.
thank you for clarifying that, as well as the title, because I know when sometimes people hear Equity Commission, that can raise other questions about what that's, but it's really looking at the equitable nature of the business tax receipt classification structure of the businesses within Dunedin.
Good.
That makes sense.
That's why we have her.
Yes.
So that'll be on your next meeting to establish that committee.
Okay. Okay, so we'll talk about it more then, and we can, all right.
So with the correction of that title and chapter 62, I think those are the only additions.
So we don't have to have individuals?
No.
No, that'll just be the establishment of the committee.
Right, and we probably, I'm just gonna belabor this, just so since we're gonna be thinking about it anyway, we probably want different kinds of businesses as well, like a broad,
We have a really good spectrum on the task force, so I can, forward some names of folks who are actively involved in the task force.
that might be a good idea, because,
That's a great idea.
because, you don't want, all breweries or restaurants or bars, because we have other businesses in our community that will look at it from a different lens. I think we want somebody that represents, if it's a 5-member thing, then we should have 5 different types of businesses, I think.
Yep.
I think that makes it very broad and fair, if they're gonna be looking at that.
And I mean, just to say this out loud, I'm okay with appointing if we can find the best way to get that broad spectrum. But if, I just want to make sure if we take applications, we might think of people that we didn't even think of, that are actually outside the normal spectrum. So, you know, I don't know what the best process will be, but.
I like the
think about
idea
it.
of you looking at the task force on a
Well,
whole.
right, because you've already got people that have
You've
come
got a
together
ton
from
of
different
people on there,
spectrums.
not just your
Right,
little
that's a way
working
to-
group, but your ton of people.
And the task force has, right, the diversity of businesses, but
Right.
it's also very,
No, that's a.
it's all downtown.
Right, I was just
It
gonna say,
is.
it's downtown
It
centric,
is.
and that would definitely not fly.
No.
We'd have to figure out how to pick
Well,
some outside.
and
ones,
I would
too.
also say that maybe the chamber could
Could advise,
recommend
could advise, yeah.
a couple of people outside of the downtown that they think, you know. So maybe you guys can work on compiling that list of options.
Sure.
That might be good. It doesn't mean you can't pick somebody outside of those options, but yeah, no, it's a little more complicated, I think.
Yeah, the
Depending on
downtown.
And we want it to be fair. That's the most important thing. Okay. Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the agenda for the 26th with the changes that we discussed?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Gao and Commissioner Franny, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Anything else good for the order? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. See you Saturday.
Yep.
Wear your winter woolies, though.
Oh, really?
8:30, right?